North Carolina, and we ain't going nowhere.
I'm a member of Black Workers for Justice and a retired American Postal Workers Union president, and I have the honor and privilege of being the MC for this Workers Speak Out. Give us a hand. So why are we here? We're here because the HK-on-J Coalition from the very beginning put at the top of its agenda workers' rights. That's right. We started out with it and we're fighting on it today, and we're here to say ahead of our march on Saturday, right, that we're going to stand up for what? Workers' rights. We're going to stand up for living wages? Yes. And union rights? Yes. We've got a series of speakers here today that represent our movement, that are going to speak to you to let you know what we're going to do on Saturday. But first, we'd like to invite to the podium, well, not quite a podium, but to the front, our leader, Reverend William Barber, to talk about the charge.
Hey, solidarity.
Solidarity.
So let me, first of all, I'm going to get in the middle here. First of all, I want y'all to know we're being live streamed all over the nation. So everybody say, fight back! 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 And so we're here today because we want you to join us, join Mary B, Ajamu, all of us at the March for Love and Justice, the Mass March on Saturday. Our Constitution in North Carolina says in the preamble, you can't get out of the preamble before you get to the article, that enjoyment of the fruit of your own labor is a it's not just a constitutional right, it's an inalienable right. Which means that the Constitution suggests it comes from a higher power. It's a power higher than the Speaker, a power higher than the Senate Pro Tem leader, a power higher than Republican, a power higher than Democrat. Whatever that power is, the Constitution suggests there's a higher power, higher than the government. And that any work that does not guarantee that you have the enjoyment from your labor, our Constitution suggests is nothing but pseudo-slavery. Because that's why that phrase was put in the Constitution. It also says in that same Constitution that we have a right to life. And you know you cannot live without a living wage. That's right. You cannot really live without a living wage. So we stand on those two great pillars. And we believe that we have to restore the heart of North Carolina. Now I'm going to get out of the way. But I wanted you to know on the media that's here, we released this to the media already. Where's Tom? We're going to release this right now to the media that we today have put on change.org, a petition inviting thousands of you, hopefully hundreds of thousands of North Carolinians, to sign this calling on the legislature to pass a bill that calls for the raising of the minimum wage towards a living wage to get people out of poverty. Index it with inflation and allow the people, not just these legislators, but the people to vote on it and make it constitutional in North Carolina. That's what we want. We got sponsors for this bill. It's going to go to the floor. If you put marriage amendment on to the people, then put a money amendment to the people. That's what you do. Put some money on the table. And we want this, and we believe 6 red states, so-called red states, those extremists were telling their people they will not vote for this. In 6 red states, when it got on the ballot, it passed. That's right. And so Tom is getting ready to drop it right now to the Associated Press and everybody else that we want the people to vote on bringing the minimum wage up so that a person working will be out of poverty, and then indexing it with inflation and making it constitutional that never in North Carolina again will a minimum wage stay so far down that it's nothing more but a pseudo form of slavery and does not live up to the values of our Constitution. I'm out. I got to go be with a family that's had a death in their family, but we all together. Amen. We all together. Take care. All right, take care.
We can't survive on 725. 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 Next, we'd like to have Mary B. McMillan from the North Carolina AFL-CIO, Secretary Treasurer.
I'm Mary B. McMillan with the North Carolina AFL-CIO, representing union members and workers from across the country, from across North Carolina. Workers will be marching on Saturday because the fruits of our labor have been stolen from us.
Right.
We march because construction workers build houses but are homeless. We march because farm workers pick produce but are hungry. We march because cashiers collect money but are penniless. That's wrong, brothers and sisters. We march because it's time working folks got our fair share. But most of all, we march because together we have a power more valuable than our Pope's bank account. It's called solidarity. And workers have long known its power. And lawmakers know it too. That's why they tried so hard to bust unions and to stop our protests. They want to divide us. Well, I've got news for legislative leaders. It's time to say goodbye to the old politics of divide and conquer. Because working folks, we've got a new game plan. It's called Unite and Triumph. That's why we march. It's why we keep fighting for unions, and it's why we will not back down, we will not waver, and we will not stop until there are living wages and union rights for all workers. That is a promise. Because there's only one direction we're going, brothers and sisters. That's forward together, not one step back. Forward together, not one step back.
Next, taking that mayor, UE 150, the North Carolina Public Service Workers Union.
Service Workers Union, UE 150, we bring you greetings from our President, Larcene Taylor, our Vice President, and Gaza Laughing House, and our Executive Board and members across this state. We are here because we are saying that we stand and have stood with the historic thousands on Jones Street march since its inception. We are here because public workers make this state work. We're here because public workers make cities work. We're here because public workers make counties work. And we are here because public workers are taking a stand. Too long, we've allowed the state legislature to just roll over public workers, but we're here standing today. We've stood for the last 9 years. We're going to stand after this, but we're saying that public workers deserve the right to collectively bargain. It's a human right across the world. And we're saying that if North Carolina is claiming to be progressive, then don't be regressive. Recognize the right of public workers to collectively bargain. We're also here because we stand on the right of public employees to have their dues voluntarily deducted from their paychecks. And this legislature is trying to deny us that right, to reverse that right here. And we as public workers are here, and we'll be marching to say, we want that right. We're going to fight for that right. We're not going to back down from that. We also support living wages because our workers are the ones who do the dirtiest work in the state and in the cities. We pick up the garbage. We clean the water. We teach the schools. We sweep the floors. This building exists because frontline public workers make it. So we're standing here today. We're standing. We're not demanding that public workers be given their due here in this state, and workers in general across the state be paid living wages and have some control over the conditions that we work under. So that's why we will be there Saturday. That's why we'll be there this summer. That's why we'll be here next year. Until our victories are completely realized, we will be fighting.
When I say living, you say wages. Living. Wages. Living. Wages. When I say union, you say rights.
Right.
Union. Rights. I say living. When I say living, you say wages. Wages. Living. Wages. Living. Wages. When I say union, you say rights. Union. Rights. Union. Rights. Yeah, there you go. So next, and maybe Gene will get it right, we got this. Gene Nichols from the Center for Poverty, Work, and Opportunity to come and join us.
Yeah. I don't know if I can get that chant now. I just want to talk to you about some facts, just kind of quickly and quietly. I'm not going to give a speech like I do sometimes. But let me first say I'm here from Chapel Hill, where our hearts are broken and our spirits are decimated by the horror of losing 3 of our young colleagues, 2 from Carolina and 1 from state. This is a horror which is unspeakable to us. And I ask you to come join us tonight in Chapel Hill. Let me say, too, that I come from Chapel Hill, but I don't speak for the university. I've learned that love affairs they can be just one side. The university that I love takes great joy in distance itself from me. So I'm glad to do that right now. Just a moment. Since the recession supposedly ended 5 years ago, 6 out of every 10 jobs created in North Carolina, 6 out of 10, pay poverty level wages. As one of the economists over at NC State puts it, employment that once lifted workers into the middle class has been replaced by thousands of low-wage service jobs that no matter how hard folks work, they leave employees and their families at the edge of poverty. Median wages in North Carolina in recent years have fallen, but of course the cost of food and housing, electricity and health care and child care and credit, it has risen. So that squeezes people into misery. And worse, today, 1/3 of all employees in North Carolina are low-wage workers. Nearly 60% of them are women. They are very disproportionately Black, Hispanic, and Native American. The majority are over 30. They aren't, as the story goes, high school kids waiting to go off to Stanford. That's right. They work long hours, often at more than one job, and they can't make ends meet. We've been interviewing folks who live at the edge of poverty in Charlotte for several months. Their message is consistent. They say this: everybody knows it's impossible to pay for food and rent and electricity and gasoline on $8 or $9 an hour in Charlotte. That's true, they say, if you work overtime. It's true if you work 2 jobs. As my friend Cynthia puts it, I have gone for years at a time without a raise. Why don't they pay a wage a person might be able to live on? We work as hard as the people in the offices do, harder. Why don't you care, she says, whether the folks who work for you can have a decent life if they work hard and do right by you? Or as Melissa puts it, they don't want to help you when you're in crisis with child care or with food stamps, but they also refuse to pay you enough so you can get by without those things. It looks to me like, she says, they do it on purpose. The modest, tiny benefits just subsidize employers who treat their workers like they don't matter. Most of the low-income folks we've interviewed, whether in Charlotte or Hickory or Durham or Rocky Mount or Lumberton or Winston-Salem or Jacksonville, they're not after big new government programs. They want wages they can live on in exchange for a difficult and a demanding day's work. They want a chance to advance and to make economic progress. Then, they say, we wouldn't have to be worried about food stamps or rent subsidies. We can make it on our own, but you cannot make it on your own on $7.25 an hour. That's right. Yes. An array of states and even some cities, as you all know, have adopted minimum wage laws that exceed the stingy federal standard, but not, of course, North Carolina. Pat McCrory said some years back in a dispute in Charlotte that raising the minimum wage would be socialist. Of course, we do have a minimum wage. It's just a whole lot lower than almost any advanced nation in the world. Given that, it's reasonable to think that our leaders actually believe we can only compete in a global economy by treating our poor people far worse than every other country does.
That's right.
What kind of theory of government is that? It is stomping on the necks of poor people to subsidize rich ones. That's what it's called, government for the swells. Dr. King said, as you know, just 2 days before he died in Memphis, it is a crime for people to live in this rich country and receive starvation wages. Let's put aside the crime. Let's act like a decent society for a change, and let's raise the minimum wage.
Next, we have 2 healthcare workers from Raise Up. Raise Up, let's see it. Raise Up. First, Shannon Milton will speak with him.
Hello, my name is Shannon Milton, and I've officially become a home care worker for about 5 years now. I started out with taking care of my mother. She was deathly ill. She passed away when I was 16. That began my career in healthcare. I'm in love with what I do. I love taking care of people. I love being there for people. I love doing things for people that they cannot do for themselves. Without us, who is there?
Right.
We become their family. You know, we just...
All right.
You're good.
All right.
We work officially. We work very hard. We love what we do. You know, just how can we afford to live off of minimum wage, the minimum wage that we have? 15, we'll be able to pay our bills on time. I don't have a car right now. How am I going to be able to get a car if I'm only getting 14 hours a week?
Right.
Making $10 an hour. I can't do it. Fighting for 15 and the union, we want to bring awareness to show people, to tell people what it is that we do. Without us, we can't take care of your loved ones.
Right.
It's time for our hard work to be recognized. That's why home care workers here in North Carolina are joining with other home care, fast food, and airport workers from across the county to do whatever it takes to win 15 and union, and why I will be marching with other workers from across North Carolina and the NAACP this Saturday at HK on J.
Who else is going to be here on Saturday? Okay, Kimberly Thomas.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Thomas, and I've been working in healthcare for about 6 years, and I got into it because my mom also was ill, and she took a turn for the worse, and unfortunately, there was no one there to take care of her in her home. So we had to put her in a nursing home, and that was terrible. The conditions were not as appropriate as they should have been. So being a healthcare worker to me actually means that I can stay with your loved ones. I can take care of your loved ones and be in the home with them, give them quality care. But if I'm only getting $10 an hour, that doesn't allow me to have a goal and an energy to go into your home and take care of your loved ones. So I want to be able to fight for 15 and be part of a union that can give us the support and give us all of the knowledge that we need to go into a home and help your loved ones and take care of your loved ones. And I spend a lot of hours. Sometimes I work 72 hours straight just to make $10 an hour. I work for 3 different agencies. I'm not afforded health care. I have to pay for it myself.
Unacceptable.
So as a result, I'm here fighting for 15, fighting for a union, fighting for other workers so that we can all have a livable wage.
Amen.
Workers' rights are human rights. 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 Next, we're going to ask Angie Wells from the Communication Workers of America.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. I am Angie Wells from the Communication Workers of America. Now, you know, the politicians and the cable news pundits are always trying to define the working poor. Well, I challenge the people of these offices to wake up early tomorrow morning. I know everybody here is going to wake up early tomorrow morning because we're workers. But I challenge these workers to wake up early tomorrow morning and see the working poor at bus stops before the break of dawn. I challenge them to see the working poor at bus stops hours before they're getting paid a dime trying to make it to work on their shift. If they want to see the reality of the working poor, why don't you go to food pantries where mothers are standing in line at food pantries with their children when their cupboards are bare a week before their paycheck is due. This is not acceptable in this country. It's the premise of our nation that if you work hard, you should be able to feed your children. So we stand here today saying that it is our right as Americans of the American dream to work for a livable wage. We stand here together saying no more to corrupt and greedy politicians and corporations that use our backs and our sweat for their corporate greed. So would you stand with us today and on Saturday for justice, for fair labor, fight against trade agreements like the TPP that want to send our jobs to other countries, and fight for justice this Saturday. Thank you.
Next, for Black Workers for Justice, we have Shafia Mbalia.
When I say union, you say rights.
Union.
Rights. Union. Rights. When I say union, you say rights.
Union.
Rights.
You gotta say it.
You get it. When I say union, you say rights. Union. Rights. Union. Rights. What do workers want? Union. 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 We march today. Why we march? To fight for living wages and union rights. We're here today to join with other workers, unions, and allies to call for an end to the policies that keep many North Carolina workers in a state of economic degradation. We're following the youth and the cultural workers who came to the People's House earlier to speak truth to power as we prepare for the Moral March this coming Saturday.
Amen.
We are outraged at the continued economic inequality in our state, and we call on lawmakers and the governor to do something about it now. We have said all along that the policies enacted by the General Assembly are designed to help the wealthy and the corporations without regard to workers and low-income earners. The recent study released by the Economic Policy Institute reveals that the top 1% in North Carolina captured all of the net income growth during the last 5 years of the recovery. From 2009 to 2012, incomes in the top 1% went up by more than 20 while the rest of North Carolina actually saw income decline slightly. The Budget and Tax Center has said we're looking at a 1% recovery. We knew that, you knew that, you knew that, and workers feel it and see it every day. Workers are calling out for justice. They're calling for a livable wage, a wage that enables them to feed their families and take care of our basic needs, a wage that gives us dignity that we deserve. That's why we support the fight to raise the wages to $15. It will help fast food workers. It will help home care workers be able to afford health care. It will allow fast food workers not to run out of food before the end of the month. It will allow other low-wage workers not to go to food pantries. It will allow workers to deal with their own needs and not have to depend and beg social agencies to keep them for the rest of the month. It will strike a blow against income inequality. We are also calling for the basic democratic and human right of workers to come together to advocate for and defend ourselves. It is a principle embedded in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It means the right of public, in North Carolina, it means an end to right to work laws. In North Carolina, it means the right of public employees to collectively bargain. It means repealing North Carolina Statute 9598, a product of Jim Crow and a blight on our state. We say, let the people decide what the minimum wage should be, not the corporations and the comfortable elected officials. As we continue to fight to make sure that Black Lives Matter, we lift up the fight for living wages and union rights. Forward to the Memorial March on February 14th. Forward together,
not one step back.
Forward together,
not one step back. Next, representing the American Postal Workers Union, we bring forward Richard Carr.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. Before I begin my prepared speech, which I'm not used to giving a prepared speech, I'm going to just say this. I do not believe, this is a personal statement, I do not believe that we can ever successfully shame the rich into doing the right thing. So the only thing that, if I'm right about that, then the only thing we can do is gather enough unity, enough militancy, enough determination to force them to do the right thing. Just a thought. Brothers and sisters, I am proud to speak today on behalf of the leadership and membership of the American Postal Workers Union, AFL-CIO, and to bring you personal greetings from National APWU President Mark Dimmonstein. In the immediate aftermath of the outrageous grand jury decision in Ferguson, Missouri, not to indict the cop who killed 18-year-old Michael Brown, the APWU leadership issued a statement calling on its membership to join protest demonstrations in defense of the Ferguson community. As the APWU leaders explained, at a time when we are asking the postal patrons and communities around the country to defend the public postal service, a national treasure threatened with privatization, as well as defense of the 500,000 decent living wage postal union jobs. We, the postal workers, also need to defend our communities.
That's right.
This exemplary position of the APWU national leadership is an example of the unity of civil rights and labor. A few weeks ago, Oxfam International reported that in 2014, 4/5 of the world's people controlled only 5.5%, a little more than 1/20th. 4/5 controlled a little bit more than 1/20th of the world's wealth. Ponder that one. Even more striking, Oxfam projected that by 2016, next year, the wealthiest 1% will control more wealth than the 99% of the rest of us in the world combined. Clearly, the 1% are carrying out class warfare against the rest of us every day in every way. No wonder any time those of us among the 99%, like my old friend Ajamu and I, dare to raise class warfare, the 1%, with their control of the U.S. mass media and our educational and cultural institutions, condemns us to telling this basic truth. This week, the Greensboro News and Record reported that only 1.9% of North Carolina workers are now in unions. This shockingly low figure is a drastic drop from even the year before. Up until now, the 1% has successfully pitted the working poor and the union workers against each other. We have allowed them to foment division between men and women workers, white and black workers, citizen and non-citizen workers, Democratic and Republican workers, etc. It is high time that those of us who have decent union jobs, along with the leaders of organized labor, become active and determined fighters in support of the massive and growing ranks of the working poor, in support of the working poor, in their just struggle for a living wage and a union, as we've heard from some of the sisters here already today. And the working poor need to become supporters of the unionized workers and our struggles to maintain decent working conditions and a decent standard of living for our families. That's one way that we're going to help pull each other up and not allow the ruling class in this country to keep pushing us against each other and push us down. Before I close, I'm just about done, I do want to make a personal comment that I was a little boy in North Carolina in the 1940s. Reverend Barber, in one of his major speeches shortly after he became president of the North Carolina NAACP, referred to the great union that my father had the privilege of leading before he was sent to prison. That's what happens to good union leaders very often. And that was Local 22 of the Food, Tobacco, and Agricultural Workers Union in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that represented the workers, the thousands of workers at R.J. Reynolds, as well as the hundreds of workers at 3 Leaf Houses in Winston-Salem in the 1940s. And Reverend Barber pointed to that one union and said, this is the highlight of labor and civil rights unity from the past, and pointed it as a way forward, something that we should aim for in our own time. So I did want to raise that union because when you think about it now, we have a black minister leading this struggle and the NAACP leading a struggle. They're the core of this very fine mass movement that's been built in North Carolina, and so far, not too many other places. So we've got to support that leadership very strongly. Right. But in the 1940s, it was black and some white industrial workers, not ministers, not funeral directors, not small business people, who were the main force in North Carolina in the fight for civil rights, not just the fight for union rights. Those workers were the main force in the fight for civil rights in the state of North Carolina in the 1940s. That's a challenge to all my brothers and sisters in the labor movement here today, is to try to, that shows you the potential of the labor movement to be a real strong ally of the NAACP and the black leadership provided by Reverend Barber and others here. That's a goal. Finally, the fates of the working class people of this country and globally are intertwined. This is why I'm happy to be a soldier along with the APWU in the Mass Moral March on Raleigh and the HK on J People's Assembly. In our unity lies our strength.
In our unity lies our strength.
In our unity lies our strength.
Okay, and now, one more time, for those that believe. In our unity lies our strength. Thank you.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Carissa Morrison, representing Working America.
My name is Carissa Morrison, and I'm representing Working America. We are the community affiliate of the AFL-CIO, and right now I'm representing over 42,000 members in North Carolina who do not have unions on the workplace. That's pretty terrible. But anyhow, so members of Working America get involved with us because they believe that there is strength in numbers. They believe that by standing together and fighting for economically just policies, that they are going to, I promised I wouldn't sing, but I'm gonna, they're fighting for a better world, not just for better pay. Feels good, you know? Anyhow, I bring to you some stories. I remember Katrina is a single mother. She's the primary caretaker of 3 young children and works 2 part-time jobs just to support them. She's a student at Guilford College, and yet she still finds time to be active politically. She knows how precious her voice is, and she does not waste time in this life not using it. You know, she's an advocate for her family, and even in our first meeting, she was very adamant, even though she had no experience, in saying, if we aren't going to do this work, it's not going to happen.
That's right.
That's right. Our friend Joan worked at a factory in High Point, North Carolina, that dried up is the word they use, as if it just magically evaporated. That was a good time. Sorry, I'm really shaky. Whenever this plant closed down, she lost steady middle-class income. She lost benefits, her retirement, and she never even received her final paycheck. The jobs that trickled in to fill that gaping hole were what we call low-wage industry jobs, as if any industry is inherently low-wage, and that's not a choice we've made. Yeah, it's pretty crappy. So it put a lot of stress on her family, and so she fights too. These are just 2 people that I've talked about, and you've heard the stories over the past however many minutes. You've heard from our friend Jean and from our actual workers here how many folks are struggling right now. And it's because there are so many of these folks fighting up against these solvable problems, facing inequality created by an unfair economic system. They're being forced to work long hours at low wages, or they're being forced to put together part-time gigs just to make it by because they can't get full-time work. It's not right. And it's because of this that we are standing together today, marching together on Saturday to fight for a living wage, dignity, and justice for all workers.
So let's thank all of our speakers, Chris, Rich, Okay, so you got any more chants? So I think we're going to make a round. Everybody feel like marching a little bit?
One reminder, folks, we're going to be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. We heard a healthcare worker tell us that she is a healthcare worker without health insurance, and healthcare is a labor issue. We're coming back tomorrow for a die-in, so before we get marching, just want to make sure that y'all know we should be back here tomorrow. Fired up!
We're taking no more!
We're fired up! Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more!
We're fired up!
Can't take it no more!
We're fired up!
Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more! We're fired up! Can't take it no more!
What do you want?
Workers' rights.
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 I say, what do you want? You say women's rights. What do you want?
Women's rights.
What do you want?
Women's rights.
What do you want?
Women's rights.
What do you want?
Women's rights.
I say, what do you want? You say youth rights. What do you want?
Youth rights.
What do you want?
Youth rights.
What do you want?
Youth rights.
What do you want?
Youth rights.
I say, what do you want? You say youth jobs. What do you want?
Youth jobs.
What do you want?
Youth jobs.
What do you want?
Youth jobs.
What do you want?
Youth jobs.
I say, what do you want? You say 15. What do you want?
15.
What do you want?
15.
What do you want?
15.
What do you want?
15.
I say, what do you want? You say black rights. What do you want?
Black rights.
What do you want?
Black rights.
What do you want?
Black rights.
What do you want?
Black rights.
I say, what do you want? You say Latino rights. What do you want?
Latino rights.
What do you want?
Latino rights.
What do you want?
Latino rights.
What do you want?
Latino rights.
I say, what do you want?
You say Muslim rights.
What do you want?
Muslim rights.
What do you want?
Muslim rights.
What do you want?
Muslim rights.
What do you want? Anybody else?
Gay
When I
rights.
say, what do you want?
Gay rights.
You say,
Gay rights.
what do you want?
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 Gay rights.
I say, what do you want? You say, equality. What do you want?
Equality.
What do you want?
Equality.
What do you want?
Equality.
What do you want?
Equality.
When I say, what do you want? You say,
Immigrant rights.
what do you want?
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 Immigrant rights.
I say, what do you want? You say justice. What do you want?
Justice.
All right.
All right.
Look, my name is Robert. I've been with the Raise Up movement since March. I personally don't work in fast food anymore, but you guys, the union, the strikes, the protests, it inspired me. It inspired me to do more for people, to help people. I'm 18 years old, believe it or not. I'm gonna try to get more into organizing, but I believe that we will win.
Reverend Hawkins, a great brother of ours in the movement. He's also with the North Carolina NAACP Executive Committee. Hey, great pastor in the community. He wants to have a few minutes of silence in remembrance of those who were killed in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, the
three young people that were killed in Chapel Hill. So before we leave, if we could just take a moment of silence. Now, is there anything else, Reverend Laws, anything before we? This will be our final act of solidarity as we have a few minutes of silence.